Hello, so I'm Ruzi Risike. I'm the curator of Pitika Tili's solo, Azibuyele Emisisweni Return to the Source, which launches today as part of the National Arts Festival. I'd like to welcome the viewers, Pitika, and Minister Naledi Pandor. Just to give a brief introduction to the speakers today. Following the tradition of the Renaissance man, Pitika Ntuli is a true artist, political, and academic polymath, interested in exploring the contradictory relationship between tradition and modernity. Ntuli's witty and dry reflections on our society are captivating and visionary. The Honorable Naledi Pandor is a South African academic, educationist, lecturer, and politician, serving as a Minister of International Relations and Cooperation since 2019. She has served as a member of the Parliament for the African National Congress since 1994. I hand over to you, Minister, to lead the conversation.
Good morning and good day, and thank you very much, Program Director. Allow me to convey my greetings to Professor Pitika Ntuli and to Ms. Antoinette Ntuli, who has been my contact in deliberating on this matter. I'd also like to greet the Melrose Gallery Director, Mr. Craig Mark, as well as local and international artists and academics who may be joining us in this virtual program. And you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen who may be taking an interest in matters artistic. I'd like to begin by congratulating Professor Pitika Ntuli on staging the Azibuyele Emasisweni, or Return to the Source, solo art exhibition. This exhibition comes as a measure of the resilience of the human spirit that Professor Ntuli is bringing through such a significant exhibition in the midst of the debilitating period of the COVID-19 global pandemic. Who would be thinking art in the midst of a pandemic? This lifts our spirit and certainly plays a very important role in making us realize there are other matters that we should pay attention to. Through the Azibuyele Masisweni art exhibition, we are able to reconnect with African ways of knowing and spiritual modes of healing. Now, many of you would know that Professor Ntuli is a man of many paths. For well over 3 decades, his talents have enriched our lives through his moving poetry, his academic contributions, his African spirituality, and the stunning beauty of his sculpture, as will be shown by the exhibition we launched today. Of course, he's also an amazing critic of our society and its progress post-democracy. It is all the more amazing that these magnificent pieces of sculpture took a little over 3 years of endurance, staggering imagination, and delicate expression. For good measure, we see each piece is accompanied by a deeply moving poem that illuminates its deeper meaning. One might be forgiven for concluding that the inimitable scale of the Azibuyele Emasisweni art exhibition should come to rank as one of the very highest of artistic achievements in the history of solo art exhibition in our country. One of the positive effects that we have seen of this pandemic is the increased use of technology, particularly of virtual platforms for art and culture, as well as other disciplines, which means that this exhibition can now be viewed by the entire world as it is being made available on a virtual platform. I must say personally for me, it is a great honor and privilege to be part of opening of such an important exhibition, because given the position I occupy, I spend much of my time deliberating on the COVID-19 pandemic and how we as the world should respond. This important exhibition, Azibuyele Emasisweni, showcases the extraordinarily rich cultural wealth in South Africa, in that it brings together 33 of South Africa's most admired, respected, and talented playwrights, poets, academics, singers, together with international academics, writers, and artists. What a wonderful unity. In fact, I can see this exhibition beginning in South Africa and then integrating modes of expression of a similar character from other African countries and perhaps globally. This is a beginning of something that could be great. This kind of artistic brilliance that dazzles on a global stage is just evidence of South Africa's diplomatic credibility at the cultural level. Cultural diplomacy has been one of the potent instruments that countries use to win friends and influence in a sometimes inhospitable global economic environment where foreign direct investment tends to depend on national visibility. So this exhibition is for South Africa and Africa, one way of putting us on a map by fixing the world gaze on our artistic brilliance. One notes with appreciation the leitmotif of African personality in Azibuyele Emasisweni as an artistic body of work. Professor Ntuli has himself on several occasions professed his devotion of this African perspective to his work, an unashamed devotion to this African perspective. What this means is that the uniqueness of Professor Ntuli's work derives directly from a deep pool of indigenous knowledge, wisdom, and centuries-old cultural traditions. From this angle, one would argue that the exhibition affirms the significance of African value systems, giving a sense of pride and hope to people whose culture has often been denigrated and marginalized by colonialism. And thus, through this exhibition, we are opening channels for healing, an opening that is sorely needed in the world we confront today. Of course, art has played a catalytic role in asserting our African identity in the face of corrosive colonial and apartheid climates that were designed to hollow out the African historical being. During this process, it was individuals like Professor Ntuli and a legion of South African artists who put art to the service of liberation, the liberation of the African people, without necessarily dispossessing art of its innate free-floating spirit. In fact, I recall Professor Ntuli very strong on the independence of mind that artists need. Today, as this exhibition testifies, art continues to be the conscience of society, an agent for change, and a catalyst for the affirmation of our common humanity. This exhibition today not only displays a commanding African sense of cultural aesthetics, but it gives expression to deeper issues in the domain of spirituality and history. In this broader context, it extends, as I've said, its healing potential beyond South Africa and Africa, as it honors the bones of the millions of Africans who died in the Middle Passage and those who died in slavery in the so-called New World. And it cannot be but that this exhibition comes at the right time. The emphasis on healing in the exhibition has particular significance in this time of the COVID-19 global pandemic and the uncertainties it has brought with it, which have given us an opportunity to reflect on our value systems and what we call the normal way of doing things. I believe beyond the African particularity of this exhibition, we can, as I have posed, further extrapolate the use of our bones to our common humanity, which is traceable to South Africa as the cradle of humankind. In this context, it is indeed a return to the source, our common origins. In fact, asibuyele emasisweni, isisu is the stomach, our source, close to the womb. We do hope, however, that this magnificent achievement will inspire many younger South Africans, and indeed Africans all over our continent, to follow in Professor Ntuli's footsteps. Of course, his shoes are rather too big to fill, but we should follow in his footsteps, and we hope you, as young people, with his guidance, will produce many other exceptional forms of expression in line with the stature he has built over time. We are certainly proud as the government of South Africa, as the people of South Africa, Professor Ntuli ours, a South African, but also an African. I think, Professor, it's an understatement to say that you and your colleagues are doing and have done our country proud. I wish to conclude by offering my congratulations to you on a job well done. When I was first approached to be part of this launch, I thought, what do I have to do with bones? And then when I saw the sculptures, when I saw the imagination and creativity associated with them, when I saw what each one was set to illustrate, I realized I belong there. And so it is my great pleasure to have been part of this opening. And I now, on all of your behalf, congratulate Professor Ntuli and warmly declare this exhibition open. Thank you very much.
Susie. Minister, I am overwhelmed. I am one person who does not need words. Words come to me, but I'm stunned right now. The insights that you have captured about what's happening in my darker soul is very, very, very impressive. But maybe you should speak the way in which you did, because you planted the seed when, as Minister of Science and Technology, you brought about the re-emergence of astronomy, African astronomy, and we're at that conference. Then I began thinking, we're at the cradle of humankind. I said, maybe if I visit the old Mrs. Plessy and look her straight in the face and ask her about being a bone, when I saw those empty sockets of hers, there was a glint and a flicker on it, then I knew that bones have secrets. We assure you, Minister, that the young people, we had already started an academy where we get people from school who come to our works without telling them how good we are. We say, just go in, look what it is, pick what you like. Children from 3 to 5 years, they come and they like something, you give them a pen and a pencil, they draw, and after drawing, you give them painting, they paint, and then they paint. Then we've got a drawing, interrogating a sculpture, a painting, interrogating a picture, and then poems are written, which is truly the way in which Africa has got to, to function. I think your emphasis on the future of what we have got to move it is. And I'm also picking up on a very important thing, for me. When I think of the Sao Jose, Paque, Africa, the slave ship that left Mozambique and crashed, and people, died. The Amistad, where the African people captured the ship to get it back to Africa, part is this, and those link of bones of what is happening in the United States, today. This comes at a time when we have to say that as African people, we are not only here, we are joined by bridges of bones that go everywhere, and we have got to pay tribute to those bones.
I absolutely agree. I think you're making extremely important points. One of the things that I believe we need to do is to really look at how do we strengthen humanity, particularly those in our world who've been most marginalized, and how do we use their history, often a history of oppression, of being put in the background. How do we use it to illustrate a humanity that we often don't recognize, a resilience that we don't give credence to? Because triumphing over great suffering is an amazing illustration of a spirit that will never be beaten down. And I think bringing something that many would regard as waste to life in an exhibition of this kind is an amazing restoration, for want of a better word. And I was fascinated with astronomy at how you had a very wide range of interested parties that
Yes.
would play a role in the science. So at times, the scientists would be very old, established scientists, primarily white older males. But when you went into a classroom with primary school children, each one understood the science and meaning of the stars. And you would see the faces of children transformed. You'd see imagination come to life. And I think you'll be amazed at what this exhibition is going to bring to life.
No, thank you very much. One of the poems, I'm quoting, Credo Mutua. We said, we come from the planet of the red dog. And one of the pieces traces po, to, lo, the small seed, Sirius B, circulating once in 60 years around this among the Dogon people, where they celebrate Siki, a ceremony once in 60 years, tracing that. And there's a poem, that goes with it, because each and every bone there, in the Tagazel, it's got its own praise songs,
yes.
as it demands, as Africa it itself demands. And I think, and you bringing Ska, here, we are indeed very, very fortunate, as a country. We just have got to look after our young ones and guide them, the poor ones, and guide them, through, and never actually forget those people who survived all the horrors of slavery. We celebrate the Maroons, those who refused actually to be captured, that you could still find even in Colombia today. As an African people, we are a resilient people. We have also learned, some of us who were brought up and mentored by people like Ken Temba, Ezekiel in Mpahlele, leading us straight back to your own blood, your own father, J.K. Matthews, and these ideas that he did at a time under great constrictions, he managed to think through things. I'm
Well,
following up on your history
yes,
as an
I think
African, and I'm proud.
what we need is certainly that as Africa, we must have a sense of pride, because that then will allow us to come into who we are. And for me, the cultural expressions are a very important source of pride. We speak of South Africa as the cradle of humankind due to the paleontological finds of very old fossils and thus the origins of humanity. But we don't have cultural institutions that are devoted to the origins of humanity.
Yes.
And I think we should have that, because we shouldn't have fossils as a record of the old.
Yes.
It should be an expression of who Africa is and what contribution Africa has made to the world. And I think this is something we need to claim much, much more. It can't be left as something that only scientists would speak to. I think Africans as a whole must speak to it. And so I've been really thrilled in this year in which we mark 400 years of the beginning of slavery, that Senegal has now opened a museum on African civilization and is beginning to reclaim the art of Africa that was taken out of our continent and stolen out of it, reclaiming it back to Africa so that we see what we produced. We see our talent, and we encourage all Africans to be similarly creative and proud.
Statues are collapsing, statues of slavers in the city of Bristol that you and I have seen. It's been standing there for centuries. They're going, but we have got to see African statues. I was watching yesterday, being Youth Day, seeing frail young people facing bullets, being shot and being killed, and then saying, how is anybody going to remember these people if we do not have these cultural institutions where the people can see that bravery, or to do just the right thing, knowing that I may not return home. There are many of our people who died in exile. So it is very, very, very important that as a nation, we need to find our own source and be really proud of it. And I mean, I relate very much to the issues of, China looking for a civilization rather than a nation state, which is what originally African leaders like Kwame Nkrumah wanted, a civilizational state, Cape to Cairo, with an African high command, practically everything, and also going back to the ancestors. When I'm looking at, Chinese history, renewing 10,000 20,000 monuments and sculptures and bringing them back, then we are surprised that these people are actually thriving, and yet we have got all the resources. What has happened? But we think that you'll speak to us.
I think we need to find ourselves and be ourselves. I think we need to have a definition of who we are, and as I said, a sense of self-pride. And I think that comes out of our education. I'm a humanities trained person, and I think the humanities are absolutely critical to us having confidence, knowledge about the continent, our history, our literature. If I had not been a humanities student and had access to African history, to literature of Ngugi wa Thiong'o and others, I don't know where I would be today. So I really think we need to look at the content of our education, the degree to which our young people understand African affairs, world affairs, and also the confidence, I believe, not to erase the odious history, but to have it available so that it is an example of what we do not wish to be. So I do find myself conflicted on the statues as to should they be thrown in the sea or put in a place where there's an explanation of the evil character of the individual and what humanity should not strive to repeat. So I worry about erasing
Yes.
evil and therefore almost living in a world where we may be tempted to repeat those old
Yes.
practices because we have no knowledge of the awful harm that they cause. So I do find, I would prefer a museum where the truth is told rather than the statues being entirely absent from society.
No,
But I know that, or even a statue, but with the truth of the individual as the plaque.
Minister, for my take is that when I look at a sculpture, even if it is a sculpture of a slaver, I think of the artist, of what the artist has put there, which is which could so much irritate me. So I wouldn't want the work of another artist, to be destroyed. So I go with you. So we have to build a museum where people could come and to say, this is what it is. Even sometimes in naming, we erase history. We erase history. So why should we be afraid when as Africans we are always welcoming people?
See, I think if we had something such as this is Andrew O, he killed 3 million people.
Yes.
And this is the manner, and it's a plaque, that's the plaque. It tells the truth of the person. Instead of, soldier, patriot, whatever, but actually what are the terrible deeds that this individual is associated with, then the art remains in place, but the truth is available to humanity. Yeah. Because they do say truth is art, though. So, I don't know, maybe the statues which are officially crafted don't go to the heart, to the truth. It is the ones that come from the struggle that you depict in the exhibition, which tell us much more. So it's, we want artists who are deeply penetrating in spiritual challenge.
Minister, coming to our studio where we always bring up young people, some from the university, we have a 20-ton granite Mandela 4.3 with Winnie at the back. We've got Winnie in Namibian marble, modern life size. We have got Steve Biko and Sobukwe back to back. We have Tretrayo, we have got Shaga, we have got history written in stone in this exhibition. My son, who's a filmmaker, and his friends have made a clip of history written in stone where they depict our history. Like when you go to a place like Melrose in Johannesburg, there are 6, pieces. One, when we decided to start an armed struggle. Another one, the women in prison, women giving birth while perverted warders were doing that. The one on vigilance, they are just their history standing there. People just go there and stand.
Yeah.
So we are writing our history in stone as well.
I think we're certainly doing so. I would love then, when I visit those statues, I want to see the relationship between the sculpture and the word, because that's what I see in your work, is that with the bones and the sculptures that you have developed, with the beads, and then the poetry and the music,
and
you are linking. You are linking different forms of expression in a way that I don't think many artists do, because, on its own, a sculpture may speak to a particular person, you react in a certain way.
Mhm.
but the association with words or with music, I think assists because not everybody is able to, what word could I use, is able to make meaning of uh, an art form. But if there's a link with other art forms, I think the association and the meaning becomes, much more meaningful. Let me stop there. You've got me
No,
going. I wasn't supposed to be here so long.
yeah, but it's so kind of encouraging, so stimulating. Yeah, I'm waiting now for the lockdown to go and pray so that I can go back to my
Yes,
studio and be creative. But I'm here at least creating, with words.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, Rita, thank you very
Thank you.
much. I'm touched. I'm overwhelmed. You have renewed, my spirit. I think I've decided that I must live until 100 to fulfill the tasks that have got to be fulfilled in this country. We can't dodge them.
Absolutely. No, you must live for much longer and do take care in the midst of this terrible pandemic. We are learning to live in its midst, but we must take all the measures of safety that have been proposed because we believe that you have much more to contribute, and so we want you to continue to thrive. And let me thank you and you and Antoinette. Where's Antoinette? Let me thank
She's
you
yeah,
both.
yeah. She's yeah. She hasn't done her face, but she'll just peep. You know,
Okay.
we met with this one. She was
Good
doing.
morning, Minister.
We met
Morning.
with this
Thank
one. She
you.
was doing anti-racism, training in Islington with the best,
All right.
mining, on
Yeah.
it. I said, no. This is it. When my mother saw it, said, your ancestors brought you here.
Yeah. Wonderful. Let me thank you both
Yeah.
for making me part of this brilliant journey. And
No,
I really, I look forward to visiting the gallery, and I wish this exhibition the most marvelous success. Thank you very much, Prof.
thank you very
Thank
much. I'm
you.
continue to follow your
Thank
footsteps.
you.
Oh, oh.
On behalf of the Maras Gallery, I'd like to thank you very much, Minister Naledi Pandor, for officially opening up the exhibition. I'd like to also say how your opening is a very intimate form of understanding not just the exhibition, but who Patika is and how he's the one who's the driving force behind such a groundbreaking and honestly and a very intimate exhibition as well. So I thank you very much for just bringing those out and those ways of understanding through your speech. And Pitika, I'd like to thank you too, because without you, this exhibition would never have happened. So, to the public, it's officially open. Please engage with us on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also send us an email. And please be sure to visit and engage with the different poets, writers, etc. on our website. That is www.themarasgallery.com. Thank you once again to you both, and I thank you to the audience. Enjoy.